What up, baby? It's your boy, Raider William Denny again, baby. We are back with another episode. Denny, man, we lined up a dude today, man. A guy that we had the pleasure of playing with or coaching and playing with. I'll be like, yo, it's crazy, bro, to bring this guy with 10 plus years of experience living in Europe, being American, going over there and really paving the way for a lot of imports now. Yo, you want to let them know, bro?
Well, it's one of our good friends, someone that we met through all being on the same team, and I think we all grew closer to each other through that. So I'm very happy to have him on here, especially with the experience that he has. He has performed at the highest level in Europe, so it's going to be a great experience having him talk and educate people that are interested in coming here. So without further ado, I present Jabari Harris.
What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
What's going on, brother? Yo,
let me get situated.
guys, Jabari has been in Europe for the past decade. This man not only has paved the way for a lot of imports. Bari, we could, looks like, oh, there we go. Hey, man, thank you for coming on the show, bro. Thank you for being a part of this. And thank you for sharing your story with the people, bro. Bari, let them know where you're from.
Well, my name is Jabari Harris. I'm originally from Jackson, Mississippi. Born and raised. I'm currently living in Helsinki, Finland for the past 12 years. And man, I'm excited to be on the show with you guys today.
Oh, man. Yo, so Bar, we talked about it when we were in Lindbergh together. This is where we all came together, right? It's a crazy story as an import. It's crazy to be out there and like see the difference in football, difference in life, the approach that everybody takes. Bari, I mean, like you grew up, you were highly recruited in high school. You're a highly talented guy, dual threat quarterback, right? I mean, like when dual threats were still like coming in and like paving the way. So I mean, like you go from high school to college, man. Tell us about that experience.
So from high school, man, it was very challenging because I was also a track star and a football star. So I really didn't know exactly which one I wanted to pursue. I had a full ride scholarship for track and football to Ole Miss, but I would have had to change positions. And at the time, this term dual threat quarterback wasn't really popular. Everybody just kind of saw quarterback with my abilities as a skill player, smart enough to learn the playbook and move to another position. So I ended up going the JUCO route because I wanted to get recruited. I wanted to have a fair chance to prove, I'm not just a body, I'm not just a athlete, but I can play the quarterback position while the position was evolving. So I did 3 years at Southwestern Oklahoma State after JUCO, which was a Division II school, and I had a great experience. It was a lot of culture shocks, moving from the Deep South, going from a D1 program or a JUCO program, and then going to Division II, where you 12 hours away from your family, and still the narrative was there. It's like, man, this guy is big, fast, look good in his pads. We should put him somewhere else. So, I did quarterback for 3 years there, and then we had a coaching change, and it was like, we want to move this guy to safety. And I'm like, man, why do I keep running into this same exact, narrative that, black guys aren't smart enough to play quarterback, or we're wasting an athlete by having a guy with this talent at quarterback. Yeah. So I transferred out my senior year. I finished my studies. So, the NCAA at that time, if you finish, you still got a year of eligibility if you transfer. So I went to Kansas, and finally I had a coach that was like, man, I'm going to put this guy where he needs to be. I'm going to let him play quarterback. Ended up being an All-American player. And right after that, immediately came to Europe. So it was definitely a journey of just trying to find where I belong and find a place where, my physical attributes or the way that I play the position wouldn't disqualify me from playing the position. And so, right after that, I kind of knew I was never one of those guys that played football. Like, I got to go pro. I got to go to the league. Honestly, man, I just wanted to get my education paid for. Like, my parents didn't have money. My mom always said, if you don't get a scholarship some type of way, I don't know how you're going to go to college. So I was able to use my academics. I was able to use my God-given talent, some size, some speed, and it got me an education as an engineer. So once I did that, man, football it served its purpose. So after my senior year, every senior is preparing to go to the league. Everybody believes that they have what it takes to go to the league. And I came out of college around 2013. So that was the era where, you had Johnny Manziel and those guys. Yeah. It was still not a market for quarterbacks like me completely. So my coach was like, man, you ever consider Europe? You ever considered the CFL? I'm like, dude, I don't know anything, but I'm willing to give anything a try. So my coach, he played in the NFL Europe when it was actually the NFL Europe. He knew a bit about what was going on. And he told me to create a Euro players account. And like within 3 days, man, every team almost in every country saw my profile and was like, we want you to come play quarterback. So Europe was a market where I was desired as a quarterback. Like, nobody wrote me and was like, man, you're 6'2", 225. We saw at your pro day, you lifted 225 15 times. Come be a receiver. It was like, dude, you be one of the best quarterbacks in Europe. Nobody's going to want to tackle you. So I followed it. And 12 years in, man, it was a beautiful journey. So through the ups and downs, man, I appreciated it. I think a lot of people underestimate the opportunity that Europe really offers. And I'm definitely glad I could come on the show today and talk a bit about it.
I wanna say something, because it's we've had some guys already come on here and say that they made it out of a tough situation, but people don't really understand how bad of a situation you come from. You said your parents didn't have money, but you come from Jackson, Mississippi, which is a very tough neighborhood. Most people probably don't know, but it is very ghetto. So how does it feel to be living in Europe and like compare it to growing up in Jackson?
Man, for me, honestly, every time I go home and people ask me what it's like or would I ever come home, the answer is always the same. It's like, I wouldn't give this up to go back to anything. I always appreciate where I come from, because those challenges and that narrative, it pushed me. Coming from Mississippi, we're the smallest state in the United States. We're one of the poorest. We have a bad education system. So you can see how that narrative about being a Mississippian was already bad. So being a high school quarterback at a public school, people already had made up their minds of what I could and couldn't do, if I was going to be a problem or a juvenile or this and that. And I made straight A's and B's in school. My high school was one of the best academic schools at the time. So regardless of the location, my parents did everything possible to give me a fair shot. My mom always used academics to motivate me for football. If I didn't do my work, I couldn't go to practice. I couldn't be with the boys. So football challenged me to do everything else in life right. I could have easily been caught up with other things, because there was opportunities for it. I had a lot of friends that chose the route to do gang violence because everybody was trying to find a quick come up. So I understood at that point, I had two options. I could really use my opportunities to do something positive with my journey, or I could try to take the fast route like some of my friends. And for most, it didn't lead well. A lot of guys didn't finish high school. A lot of guys got locked up. A few of us have lost our lives due to the choices we made. So now when I'm going home and, I have younger nephews and I'm going to my other high school, I'm telling them this sport that we take for granted every day was a way out for me and many people. And if you meet a lot of people in Europe, they have the guys that really do well in Europe. They have that same passion for the game. They realize coming to Europe can change your life. It took me out of the States before it got crazy. It took me out of a poverty situation. And I'm looking at myself now. I came to Europe as a 22-year-old kid with just just happy to play football. Now I'm a father. I've officially retired. I hope this time. I always quit and come back. And man, I have a beautiful life here in Finland. I'm working as an engineer. So I was able to do so many things with one opportunity to play football that I don't even really believe that I would have had if I stayed in the States or stayed in Jackson. So I think that my journey is just a testament that when God gives you something and it's specifically for you, don't ignore the calling, man. Like my mom didn't even want me to come to Europe. She felt what Mississippi was, Europe was, because a lot of Americans aren't educated on what's going on the other side of the world. You know, she was thinking that I was going to be in the Jackson, Mississippi 2.0 by coming to Finland. And so once I got here, the first thing I realized was I could drink water out the tap and it was clean. For me, that was enough. That was enough.
Tap water.
So we talk about that, right? So when you look at it here in the States, Jabari, we talk about football being used as a launching point, right? To build men, to teach guys how to like grow up and use this as an opportunity to grow and get out of situations just like you said, right? We have a lot of kids that are from the inner city, a lot of kids that have never even been outside their town. You know, we are really like closed-minded when it comes to things because we don't have the financial opportunities. A lot of people think about the United States and they think about all these people have money. This people like, you know, everybody lives in the same like little bubble.
Yep.
But you use this game, man, to, like you said, get your education, to launch yourself into Europe, man. And that's exactly the point that we bring with the imports, right? When you bring in an import, you tell them, hey, man, use this opportunity to grow yourself, to become a better man and to get in a better situation. Now, you like, obviously, you're fucking highly intelligent. I'd be like, that was one of the first things that we all noticed. I mean, like when you become you're an electrical engineer, and I'd be like, becoming the neck, you can't just be no dummy off the street.
No.
And that's the hardest thing, right? When you talk about coaches looking at you at the color of your skin or saying because of your athletic ability that you cannot excel in a certain position. Now the NFL is full of two dynamic quarterbacks that are dual threats, right?
Absolutely. Of all colors.
Yeah. True. Because we're able to extend the plays, you're able to do different things with your feet. And when your mind, like, you know, shoot, sky's the limit. Now, you go to Europe for your first time, man. I want you to tell me, Jabari, at 22 years old, right? You said you step off that plane in Helsinki. What does that feel like, man? What is your experience like? I'd be like deer in the headlights look. Like, I haven't been up there, so let us know.
Man, I never forget it, man. You know, I had a combination of, you know, different places I had to fly. I remember at the time there was no direct flight. So I had to fly from Mississippi to Charlotte. And then I took a connection over to New York. And then from New York, it was a straight flight to Finland. And I just like every connection, like, you know, my heart was pounding because I'm like, I can't miss this. Like, you know, if I miss it, my opportunity is over. But I just remember how good it felt to get on the plane. And it was a big plane. It had TVs. It was snacks. It was like I was a kid that was experiencing life for the first time. Like I felt important. Somebody bought a ticket for me to come to a new country to do what I love. And I remember stepping off the plane in Finland and getting my bags. And when I walk out, there's 3 guys with team uniforms and a sign. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, you know, and the first thing they did, they gave me some gear. They already had, you know, my jersey and stuff. And I just felt so important. Like, it was like, yo, I'm a professional football player. At that moment, nothing mattered. It didn't matter if it was the NFL. It didn't matter if it was the CFL. When I stepped off that plane, I knew my life was going to be different. I didn't know in what way it was going to be different, but I knew that I had accomplished something that until this day, I don't know anybody from my high school, my city. It's not a lot of people that I know that have made it pro in any type of way. So I had already in my head the dream that my parents had for me and the goal that I had for myself once I came to Europe, I solidified everything I was supposed to do. I finished school. I didn't have any kids before,
Before,
graduating,
no.
and I didn't go to jail. And I went pro. So, everything that was on the checkbox of things to do at that point, I realized I had done it, and I was so proud. And I just remember the 2 hour ride to Porvoo from the airport. I was just looking around and seeing how different everything looked. I'm smelling different fragrances. I'm listening to different languages. And then I realized people love coffee and cigarettes right off the back. You get off a plane and there's some big linemen with beer bellies with dip and a cup of coffee. And it's like, Jabari? I'm like, who is Jabari? And then, I'm just like, oh, they're saying my name in the Finnish accent. So it was such a cool experience, man. And, I pull up to the import house for the first time. It's two 30-year-old guys in there that, probably had been around for a while. And I'm like, yo, who are these unks that I'm living with? Not knowing that these guys were going to be the guys that showed me the ropes. It was an amazing, turn of events when I became the unk in my career. I became the guy that started telling the imports the same thing my unks was telling me. And I realized what that process was for them to watch me grow up. Now that they see me as a dad and as an adult, they write me and they like, man, you used to be funny to watch when you were a rookie in Europe, because I got into everything, good and bad. I wanted to be at all the parties. I wanted to be in all the clubs. I wanted to be involved with everything. And now I look at myself and I barely want to leave the house. So, but just reflecting on that moment, man, I don't think there's any better feeling that a guy can get to get off that plane and know that you were successful in your effort. You may not get off the plane and it's a suitcase or a bag full of money, but in that moment, I didn't even think about money. I didn't even care about money. To be honest with you, my first contract was like 900 euros. And at that time, that was like $1,200. So in my head, I'm like, I'm getting a salary bigger than McDonald's, Walmart, and Target to play football. And I don't have any bills. My food is paid for. So in my head, I'm rich. I'm good.
No, absolutely, bro. And I'd be like, so you get to Helsinki, right? You're a rookie. You start making your way. What is that process like with, of course, different teammates? I'd be like, you guys are all different levels. We've talked about it, man. Hey, your neighborhood butcher is your left tackle. A bouncer might be your right tackle. And the level of professionalism, right? Because we talk about it all the time. You only practice twice a week, 3 times a week sometimes. And some guys study their playbook and they work hard at everything. And some guys, hey, bro, I'm just here to wear the uniform and like wear a helmet and look cool and take pictures. So
Right.
tell me how that experience is for you, especially because I know that you're a leader, man, and you look at it and you really like push yourself when it comes to this game.
The first night I landed in Finland, the next day we had the first practice. And I just had butterflies because I didn't know what to expect. I had no idea what I was getting into. And we pull up to a field and it's like an open soccer field. It's like, I don't know. I'm thinking we finna pull up to a stadium because I'm coming right out of college. So my expectations were here, but the reality was about here. But I didn't have that mentality like I was too good for it because I had already been through the different levels of college football. I saw what the SEC was like. I saw what Division II was like. And then I saw what the NAIA was like. And people don't realize some of the best imports that come to Europe are the guys that played at the lower levels because they can appreciate not having all the resources. Guys that have played D3 and below, NAIA and below, you're paying to go to school. You don't have the same amount of time to practice as a bigger university. And whatever you can afford is what you get. If the team is not going to give you gloves and cleats, you got to buy your own stuff. So since I had already been through that, I was humbled just to have an opportunity to still play. And I get to practice and it's like 10 guys. And I'm like, so is this a skill practice? Is this a joke? And then I remember the team bringing me my gear. They just went in the shed and just pulled out some shoulder pads that was like this big on my shoulders. But I did have a Speed Rebel helmet that was brand new at the time. So I'm like, okay, the shoulder pad's a bit too big, but the helmet is nice. I could deal with it. And I remember the pressure of just feeling like I had to show up perfect, you know, because the hype was here through the roof. You know, you're an import quarterback coming into Finland, which at the time is still considered one of the top 3 leagues in Europe. And the team the year before wasn't successful. So in my head, I already had this narrative that I had to be the difference maker. I had to be the changer. And so I was a big Cam Newton fan. So at that point, that's when I became like the Cam Newton of Europe type of thing, because I was a guy we kind of resemble. I had the build and I ran the ball very well as a quarterback. So I already had pressure. And I don't think that a lot of people understands that as an import in Europe, if you really take the game serious, there is some level of pressure, not because of the team, but you feel like you have an accountability to give your teammates just as much as the opportunity is giving you. Because if I wasn't playing in Finland and I didn't come to Europe, I probably would have been trying to find a job. I was in a relationship at the time that completely failed. So I don't really know exactly where I would have been if I didn't come. But I just remember going to that first practice and seeing 10 guys. That's when I realized it was different. That's when I realized that football in Europe was nowhere near close to what it was in the US. And I had to be adaptable. And I think that that's where a lot of guys struggle, because you get some guys that are adaptable and you get some guys that will complain, moan, grope for their entire summer. And instead of going back home with a great experience, they're going back home with a bad experience. And they've also given themselves a bad reputation because they weren't able to adapt and to figure out how to be successful. So I'm kind of glad that my first year was that, because I learned immediately what the bottom of European football can be like. And from there, I learned how I can be successful. And most of it was really about finding the guys that actually did care and investing into making sure that we had a chemistry, we understood each other. And once I figured that part out, that's when you started getting through the off season, and randomly 2 weeks before the season, 50 guys are at practice. And I'm like, who are you? Who is this guy? And you know what they tell you? Oh, that's our national team offensive lineman. He's been playing for 22 years. He knows what he's doing. So I was thinking in my head at the time, like, there's no way possible I could have went through college or high school football, not showed up the whole offseason, and my coach would be like, hey, guys, that's Jabari. He's a 5-star prospect. He's going to get it done. So I had to really accept their way of approaching the game and why. So it never occurred to me at that time that I was the only person that had freedom. These guys had jobs, kids, families, and if it wasn't Tuesday or Thursday, I had 24 hours to do whatever I wanted. So throughout the offseason, when I started to realize how much these guys were actually sacrificing to play football, it hit me quick like, oh, I'm not going to give this guy a hard time because he couldn't make it to practice. This dude's a firefighter. He just saved somebody's life. And here I am talking about why didn't you come to practice at 9 p.m. on a Thursday after saving lives? But what I did start to do was, and what Finland taught me was, show the people that I understand that. Show them that I care about that. And you'd be surprised, as an import, you'll be so successful when people simply like you. Because I started to see guys sacrifice more to be around me because they liked being around me. And they saw that I was a person that simply understood the hustle it took. Mind you, these guys are paying my salary. Who am I to give my boss a hard time?
Yep, true. That's true.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, that's where, you know, you being a leader and being different, right? Because you have to figure out how to be a leader in different situations for different countries, different languages, different cultures. Now, when you're talking about changing the culture on that team, because like literally, if you go from having 10 to 50, that's a huge change. How do you think when an import comes, they can have that type of impact on their team? What is it that they have to do in order to change the culture of those teams so that way they can have a successful season and they can leave a successful impact on those teams?
You have to understand exactly where you are, because I was in the Nordics, and Vinny knows probably from being in Sweden, they're not the most verbal or vocal people. They're very
No.
reserved.
Yep.
So less is more for them. When I came as an American, I just wanted to yeah. They wanted to more see. So I started to show them more than what I said. Like I started to show up at the practices with that type of energy. When the team asked me to coach the juniors, I was always on time. I was very enthusiastic. And when we had events that were outside of football, show up, like be involved, because you learn more about who you're playing with by actually being around them. So in the beginning, the guys were inviting me out. And at the time, I'm like, guys, I don't party, I don't drink. I was still super college quarterback minded. And the guys kept saying, like, man, you'll know what's better after a beer or two. So I remember going out, having a few beers, and these same guys that didn't talk, these same guys that I didn't think liked me, they were totally different people because now they were in their comfort zone. Even though I still think it's a bit funny that it takes a few beer and a few shots for a grown man to feel comfortable, I accepted and respected that was a part of the culture. And then I started to feel comfortable integrating some of my culture with them. So now it's an exchange. So I think that that's what imports have to do. Do a little bit of research about where you're going. Reach out to some of the people that recruited you and ask questions, because they can tell you before you get off the plane what it's really like and how you can be successful. I think the biggest issue a lot of imports have is we feel like because we're paid and we have that A status that we have the answers to everything. We just know we're the guy.
Yep.
Coming from the States and coming to Europe, regardless of what level you played on, you go back from being a big fish to a small fish in a different pond. And guys don't realize that. Even though you have the hype train, nobody is convinced until they see that greatness from your highlight tape on their field. And that's when I realized it was a big difference, because my biggest motivation was I was the small school guy. People probably didn't feel like I deserved to be here. I'm from Mississippi, and I'm the only quarterback in the league that's running the way that I ran. And I'm on the team that was a losing team last year. And I'm saying everybody else has quarterbacks, Jacksonville State. This guy was in Green Bay Packers camp. So I'm like, it's some real talented guys out here that had opportunities that I never had. It was that feeling of like, dang, maybe this moment is too big for me. Maybe I'm not the guy because I'm seeing all these big names. But what gave me confidence in Porville was my teammates were like, we don't care about that. We brought you here because what we saw you do on film with what you had. And we're not looking for a guy that's a big name. We're looking for a guy that can plug himself into this roster the same way you did at these other universities and help us figure out a way to be successful. And that was the best thing that I did. I remember at the beginning of the season, Vinny, we started 0-2. And I was like, man, we it's finna happen again. And my name is gonna be on it. And people don't even realize in Europe, they do have media teams. Like we used to have this thing called Gridiron where they were talking trash about us, man. They were saying negative things. And just imagine this 22-year-old kid in the pros. And there's articles like, see, black running quarterbacks don't work. All he can do is run. And I'm thinking to myself, like, for 2 weeks, I've had one receiver at practice. My coach learned how to coach from Madden. I'm like, why is nobody talking about the real proofs in the pudding? So then that's when I realized as an import, I had to step up, not just on the field. I had to take real action and be like, hey, coach, let me teach you something. Let me show you something that I learned that I think we can do, and it may help our offense. So I learned immediately that it's not like the NFL where you got Pete Carroll and these prestigious coaches that you just got to listen to. They weren't bringing me in just to play. They were bringing me in to be a full part of the program, like actually coach.
To
So
help it
once I
grow.
learned that I was there to coach the juniors, I was there to coach the coaches, then I was like, oh, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than football.
Yeah.
I can make a real impact on the game. And so I started to take pride in that. And oh and behold, we started clicking. Like it was just crazy. You start 0-2, and then the first win was like a tight game. It was real close going into the fourth quarter. And I think that was the spark to me becoming a real quarterback on the pro level, because that was the first situation where back is against the wall. I have to deliver, and I had to figure out how to do it. And I couldn't do it the Tom Brady way. I didn't go 80 yards chipping down the field. I was like, I'm 6'3", and I run a 4.4. I'm finna run the ball. I'm about to do what works. And nobody stopped me from doing it, because Europe is a place where people want to win and have fun. So when I stopped making football feel so political and just played it, it's in Europe, it's like playing in the backyard, man. Be free.
It is.
Have fun with the boys. Get the job done. Once I realized that was more important than stats, it changed the way that I played football. It changed the way that I approached football, because at that point, it's not like college where you got to put up stats to get recruited, get to the league. At this point, you're in the league. It's about winning. And so I think that that's a key factor that any position of an import needs to understand is my job as an import isn't just to score 100 touchdowns, because when we got to the playoffs, that was the toughest lesson. That's when I realized the local talent around you is more valuable than the imports. Because first round of the playoffs, we're the 4th seed, meaning you got to play the 1st seed. We got the Helsinki Roosters, undefeated, Euro Bowl champions. And I just remember their import coming to me saying, bro, you working hard out there. Like, it should be easy. And I'm like, why is it so easy for you? Then I realized their local talent was so good, so disciplined, so well coached. Their system was evolved around the local guys. And I think that more teams in Europe need to give more appreciation to the local guys, because I have never seen a successful team in Europe where the local guys aren't disciplined, well coached, and bought in. I saw imports that came out of NFL camp that never played football again, because after playing in Europe, they felt like football wasn't for them anymore. It was so many D1 guys at that time that struggled in Europe, because you have to learn how to play football in Europe. You have to learn how European football works. So I think that was like the biggest culture shock for me on and off the field.
It's cool to see you talk about the Roosters, because it's a very known team, and like you said, it's a team that cares about their local talents, and you've seen it in Belgium too. You played against the Crusaders from Amsterdam, and I think that's a team that also does the same thing. So how do you think that European teams can evolve and grow to appreciate their local talent more, and to coach them up better, so you create more teams that have that same thing?
Barry?
Guess we lost him.
I can see him.
Yeah, me too.
Can you hear us, Barry?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you guys for some reason.
Can you hear me now?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep,
Yeah, we can hear you.
Let me see here. Oh, can you hear us, Barry? Barry, can you hear us?
You guys can hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Okay.
So you can hear us? Yeah.
You can't hear us.
No.
There might be something with his audio. Hold on, guys. Having some technical difficulties. But record. Oh. See here, he's texting us.
Mm-hmm.
See, if he texts you, tell him to check his audio output or input. Can you hear us, Bari? No?
Yeah, he's texting. He can't hear us, but we can hear him.
Yeah. Hey, tell him that to check his audio, and like it should be under the out speaker. If he
Can you
clicks
hear
on
us?
Bari, can you hear us?
Nope.
Bari, can you hear us? See.
It's funny because we can hear him.
Yeah. I think it's just his audio output, like for his hearing. Oh, there he is.
Oh, yeah.
I can hear you now.
All
All
right.
right.
Let me get some.
Only issue is we hear ourselves now.
Yeah, we got
Give me a
that.
second. Oh, let me see if this will work.
Well, we can just cut it out if we must.
Yeah.
All right, can you speak now?
I can hear you.
We can hear you. We could hear you from the get. I think
We
Bari,
always heard you, but I think you can hear us.
yeah. Click on where the little microphone says, where it says audio, and it'll say the top one has microphone and the bottom one has speakers, and it'll show you where your audio is going to.
All right, I hear something.
Yep, we hear you.
We hear you.
All right, I can hear you guys now. We back.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. So I'm a rephrase my question then. So I asked you. You talked about the Roosters being very good at having that local talent and focusing on that. You also saw that when you played in Belgium, we have teams like the Brussels Black Angels and the Amsterdam Crusaders that do that. What do you think other teams in Europe could do, and how they could evolve in having and coaching up these young guys better to achieve better local talent throughout Europe?
Well, in order to have better local talent, you got to have better coaching. Like it's simple. I think what I've realized in Europe, because it's club level and sometimes it's hard to find good help, you find anybody given the keys to be a coach. And I think that that's the biggest problem. A lot of players leave teams not because of the players, because the coaches and the management. And that was something that I experienced when we played and worked together in Limburg. I think that the roster we had was crazy good. I think that the coaching that we had overall was crazy good. But everything
Really
has
good.
to be in order. The coaching and the management, because I learned I had when I played in 2019 with the Wolverines, and the president used to tell me, we used to have talks. I used to love to pick his mind. He said, you have to see your teammates as paying customers because they pay to do this. So what do they get out of paying hundreds of euros a year to do this? And the best thing of the experience is when they show up and they can enjoy what they're paying for, the coaching and the overall experience. So what teams in Europe have to do is they have to be comfortable going years without trying to just go get good imports, but saying, hey, we're going to invest into the coaching on all levels, from the juniors all the way up to the seniors. And we're going to create a culture that we have good organizational structure, we have good coaches, and at some point we're going to figure out how to get the resources to get imports and all these other things. What the Roosters did was they made their team very attractable. The Black Angels, they make their teams very attractable for the locals because they say we have a winning culture. We take it serious. We hold each other accountable. We show up to practice. And then after that, everything else is what it is. What a
True.
lot of people don't know is Brussels Black Angels and Amsterdam Crusaders, they don't have any money either. Like I've
Nope,
spoken with
they
these
don't.
teams, they don't have
Me
money.
too. Me too.
So they were never going out like, hey, we can pay you to come here and that. Even with imports, it's like, look, man, we ain't got nothing. We got a good
Nope.
team.
Yep.
We want you here off the soul of we all love playing football. So even if teams have money, the experience that I had in 2022 was I played with the Wolverines, which was the richest team in Finland. They just had money, but they never invested into the coaching. They never invested into the juniors. We just kind of imported our way to the top. But we never won because in the playoffs, when you needed guys to play as a team, which is what the Roosters and the Butchers and teams like that did, we saw ourselves as a bunch of individual paid guys that was there for our own individual reasons, and we got smoked. We got smoked by a team with 3 imports and all locals versus us having 15 imports and half the team was locals.
Yep.
And that's when I just had the greatest respect for those teams because they weren't afraid of us. They didn't care that we had a roster of 15 Americans some type of weird way because we were given dual passports left and right.
Yeah.
They just felt like the work we've put in, not just this season, but the off season and in the past, we're better than you guys because we know how to play better. And I think that when teams in Europe start embracing that mentality that we love the players that pay for this much more than anything else. We care about their experience much more than anything else. You're going to get guys to join your team just off of that. You're going to get juniors to stay just because of that.
Yeah.
I think teams in Europe really need to pay more attention to the juniors because every year that age group is evolving and they're getting good. They're really playing football at a level with a different swagger that we even didn't have because they've been exposed to it where football is already growing in their country. Just imagine, Vinny, you at 5 years old wasn't hearing about football on that level.
No.
Well, these young guys are already learning and watching the NFL. They got Game Pass, they got the college pass, and football in Europe has evolved like over the last few years with the ELF marketing it like it was professional ball. So now the local guys have something to work towards. So teams in Europe have to develop them as such like, hey, now you have multiple options by playing with this team. If you want to develop to get to the ELF, we'll get you there. If you want to develop to get to high school, we'll get you there. If you want to develop to get to the pros, we can possibly try to push you to get there. And speaking of the Roosters this year, they had one of their own get drafted first round to the CFL. Edward Vishton played at Western Michigan. They have an offensive lineman playing at Alabama. So this is a team where they don't have to promise it. They're showing it. They're really developing their guys in their backyard, and these kids are going somewhere. And it didn't cost them 30 imports or whatever to do it. They sent their coaches to clinics. I think that that's so important also in Europe. Send these coaches that you want to build your organization around. Invest into them. Say, hey, coach, look, we can't send all of you, but our head coach is going to go to a clinic. We're going to invest in it to get in there. Learn everything you can. Make connections. Get some playbooks and come back and teach. I think that's what Europe needs the most because you can get imports from anywhere. It's thousands of guys that you can offer almost nothing that will want to come play. But it's very hard to find good coaches that want to stick around and build.
Yep, that's very true. And I think that the biggest issue is that most European teams have a mentality of winning now and not thinking about the future. And I hope at some point that more and more people that are gonna be in charge of teams are gonna change their mindset and want to grow the game for the future of the game in Europe. I think that's the most important part right now.
Absolutely.
You guys were talking about it, man. I'm like, how hard is it for you, Jabari, when you're a player and you have to switch coaches year in and year out, switch offensive mindset, defensive mindset, and learn a whole entire new playbook? I mean, like, we're really not going in. I mean, like, it's really going to be vanilla because obviously
Yeah.
you get all these offenses coming in and you get 1 year and you're never able to develop more than just basically the vanilla packages that you have. How hard is that for a player, not only as a local, but as a import to be switching out coaches year after year, to be switching out playbooks year after year?
Honestly, man, it's impossible because you get random guys that don't come with playbooks or anything that fit your strengths. A lot of times, guys come with something that they've learned, and instead of making the system work for what they have, they want to make the players fit the system. And when you do that year in and year out, players can't develop. This is why players can't develop, because throughout college and throughout high school, especially if you've coached it or if you played through it, you have 4 years with the same group of guys,
Yeah.
and they get to grow together and they get to grow within systems, but also they have coaches that really have put in time to see what their strengths and weaknesses are to develop it. In Europe, you may have a new head coach every season, a new linebacker coach every season. A player may be a receiver, get hurt, and now he's the receiver coach. So he's not really a coach. He's a player acting as a coach, and he can't really pour into the players because he really wishes he could play. So you have all of these elements going on, and that's what really slows down the development of players. And for imports, it's very challenging, especially as a quarterback. 1 year, I'm in the wing T, I'm under center, and I'm like, I don't do this. The next year, I'm in the air raid. The year after that, we in two back. And so I appreciated it because I learned a lot of different things and I figured out what I can and can't do best. So then that's why I started to learn as an import when I'm talking with teams, hey, if I'm going to come to your team and play, this is what I have to be in. This is the type of coordinator I need. This is the type of system that you're going to get the best version of me. And good teams are going to allow you to do that. Good teams are going to most teams are going to go after their quarterback first. And they're going to try to pair their quarterback with the coordinator. And if those two can get along to where, as an import, you're not just running the plays, but you're teaching and building your coordinator. So even years after you, he's learned something that he can start putting in his toolbox. Now you got a good relationship. And I think the best thing for me being able to do that was, even when I left teams, I didn't leave with a bad taste in the mouth. It's like, if I'm not just coming back for whatever reason, maybe it's financial, maybe I want to go to a higher league, you've given something that they can be happy about. You've made your impact in a positive way. And I think that everybody needs to have that opportunity to have consistency in the coaching. The teams in Europe that I've seen be the most successful, some of those teams like Amsterdam, their coach has been there for years.
Yep.
They've had some of the same players for years. So that's a brotherhood. That's a fraternity. Europe needs more of that.
That's true. It's very true. It's funny how you say fraternity because the last person that we had also called it a fraternity. So
It's a fraternity, man.
yeah,
It's
like
a
that.
brotherhood, right? So
Being
when
an import is a fraternity.
you're not lying, because it's very far and few, right? That you get the opportunity to do. And people think, hey, just because you're an American import, that everybody's going to want you. And Jabari, you also know that there's two sides of the coin. I mean, like, as an import, people are going to love you or they're going to hate you. And if they
Absolutely.
hate you, you said it, you're out. You know, that you don't have another opportunity to go back and do things. Now, as an import, what do you suggest that all these guys, if they do become an import in Europe, what do they have to do with their contracts? What do they have to do with everything? Because a lot of people don't understand the whole contract situation, right? And insurance situation and
Oh my
everything like
goodness.
that. So I'd be like, yo, let these guys know, because I mean, like, that's an important part. I'd be like, and we're blind, man. I mean, like, we go out there, we go like, oh yeah, they got their insurance, they got all this, and they're gonna make sure they take care of us. It's not like that. So I'll be like, what, as an import, what do I need to make sure is in my contract, and how do I stick by it, and how do I make that happen?
First things first, young guys that's coming right out of college who are still young and blind to that reality, have somebody that you trust, your parents, your family, somebody that understands, read your contract and go
Yep.
through it with you so you
Yep.
can really understand what you're signing up for. Because a lot of guys, and Vinny, you know this, most imports, they just listen to the salary.
True.
They listen to how much I'm getting paid. Are we good? They
Yep.
not realizing that if you get hurt, there's no insurance. If you get cut from the team, some teams won't pay your fight back home.
True.
Some don't tell you that you don't have a gym membership and things like that. So
Yep.
what you really have to do is make sure that before you get a contract, really openly and honestly tell these teams what you need to be comfortable, because contracts in Europe are very flexible. Everybody's
Yeah.
budget is different, and what they can offer and what they can't offer is different. So what I
True.
had to learn was I had a package that I knew that I personally needed to be successful. I may not needed food if I had enough money, but I definitely need a gym, insurance, a place to stay, and maybe a uniform that fits. Make sure you go through all of those over and over. But what also guys have to learn how to do is do your homework on the teams that you're talking to, because you
Yep.
can go on Euro players and all these websites. You can see who's been there before you and say, hey, man,
Yep.
how was it for you? What were they actually able to do? What did they didn't do? I think imports have to realize, because we're not NFL players, we don't have agents. You have to act as your own agent. You have to see yourself as a business partner, and you have to
Yep.
make sure you're not getting yourself cut out of the business. So, main things that you want to make sure you have, think about money last. Make sure that if something goes wrong on the other side of the pond, you're protected. That's insurance. That's also somewhat of a savings fund. If you get in a situation like some of us have been in where the team goes bankrupt, have somebody with some money that can get you back home. And most
Yep.
importantly, don't go to countries that you're unfamiliar with. If you don't know what's going on in that country, because right now you got war in places. If you don't
Yep.
know what's going on, don't get on a plane and get yourself in a bad situation. So have people that you trust, look over your contracts and understand it the same way that you understand it. And also, what I had to learn was don't lowball yourself just for an opportunity. There are teams out there that will take advantage of you because you just want to play ball, and you will sign up for a slave deal, and it will make
Yep.
you hate football. If you think
Mhm.
you're a quality player, try to get in a quality league with a quality team that can give you what it is that you're asking for. Sometimes you have to be patient. If that opportunity is not there right now, be patient. Keep going, because I guarantee you, you'll get a contract in Europe to a bad team faster than you will get to a good team. You can go sign right now to a team in Romania, Serbia, anywhere that will say,
Yep.
we'll give you a pot to piss in, and you can come over and play ball. The teams
True.
that are very good and structured, they're doing their homework just like you. They're recruiting well. They're looking at their budgets. They're going through sponsors. So teams in Europe aren't acting as fast as teams in America are, because every year they have to rebuild that pot. It's nonprofit. You have to empty the accounts. So do your homework, ask questions. Don't let your ego make you feel like you can't write another grown man and say, hey, you played in Germany. How is the league? How is this team? What did you like? Take notes, because sometimes just by talking to other imports, you'll realize you're getting lowballed. You know how many times a guy has been like, man, look, this team offered me 400 euros. And he'll say, 400 euros? I was getting 12. Now you're like, oh. So do your homework, reach out
Yep.
to other people, and make sure you got insurance. My goodness.
Yeah. For real.
Oh man, that is a key thing, right? Because a lot of guys, and I mean, like when you go in there and you're young, you want to play through injury because you feel like responsible for the team, right? And you're like, oh man, like I'm out here, and a lot of the coaches will ask you to play, and general managers will ask you to play
Yep.
about injured, right? And they'll be like, hey, this is what's best for the team. They're not looking at what's best for the player.
Yep.
Now, when you look at all that, Jabari, what is it that how do you research your teams? How do you approach that of saying, or used to approach it now that you're retired, right? Like, how would you approach that now that you have all this experience and have done it so many times? How would you approach it and say, hey, man, young 22-year-old Jabari, this is what you need to be doing?
If I could go back, especially to when I first came, and I could go back and redo it, I definitely would have made sure that I would have built the team at home with friends, family, and parents that cared about me, and made sure that every situation that I was getting myself involved in, that it was first, second, and third proofed. Like, I felt like when I was 22, and a lot of guys that are young, we feel like I'm a man. I can make my own choices. I don't need nobody telling me anything. But I realized throughout my import journey, there was still a lot of learning to do. Even when I hit my mid 20s, things were still changing, because there was times where I had played with teams for multiple seasons, and I'm thinking in my head, oh, it's time for a pay raise. I mean, I done been here 3 years. We done made it to the championship. I done became the MVP. And then I'm thinking in my head, it's like a progressive business. It's not really like that. And sometimes you have to realize what your worth is, but also you have to be realistic about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is European club level football, and don't take it disrespectful if teams really just can't give you more. I think that that's something that I learned as an import. I think that all of these men that I'm playing with are trying their best to not only fund this team, but to survive in life. And when you build good relationships with guys, don't let money be bigger than that, because there is no amount of money in a football contract that could equal up to a great experience in Europe. And that's what I learned towards the back end of my career. Once I got settled in, I was giving my money back to the team. I'm like, hey, I don't need this. Go get me more imports. Go get me more linemen. What I think imports should focus on, if they truly want to have a long career in Europe, especially the guys like me that come over, maybe find a girlfriend and stick around, I had to learn that in order to stick around longer, I had to approach the game like the locals. Get you a real job or salary or something on the side, to where now your football decisions aren't based on the income. And that's what allowed me to come to Belgium. That's what allowed me to go to Norway, because I didn't need the team to break the bank to have me around. And if I could also go back and talk to my younger self, guys, wrap it up. Wrap it up. Bring you a few boxes of condoms and wrap that thing up. It is not a game out here, fellas. It's serious business.
Yeah, that's true. That's very
that's
true.
the thing, right? Like, really, like, you're absolutely correct, Jabari, that a lot of young guys don't have that mentality, right? You just out there slinging it, doing your thing.
Letting it fly.
Especially in the Nordics. Damn.
Oh, man.
It's crazy.
It's dangerous out here.
Careful, man. You got to be careful, and you got to take care of yourself, right? And as a young man, you don't think about those things. But once you start having children and family and everything like that and responsibilities, a lot of things change, right? And you talked about it. So if I'm an import, right, and I go out there, how do I get a job, Jabari? I mean, like, how do I, make it so if I want to stay there long term, like, I can be successful? Because a lot of people don't know that when you're on a tourist visa, you can't work.
Nope.
So
you have to. I think this is another perk of being an import and really knowing what you want out of the experience. When you're talking with teams and negotiating things, these are questions you can ask, like, hey, man, look, I want to stick around for a while. I've played a few seasons in Europe and I think I like it. Are there any ways that you can tell me or teach me how to get integrated into the workforce? How do I get a work visa? What type of jobs are available for a person that doesn't speak the language? Or, in fact, who do you know on the team that knows something? You would be surprised how many guys are literally on your team that if you open your mouth, they're like, oh, I got work. I know who's hiring. And that's what I had to learn to do. I became a space engineer through football. And when I tell people that, they're like, huh? Because I was playing ball, and one of my coaches, our wide receiver coach, Coach Rope, just came and was like, "Oh, there's a new company called Eyesight. They're looking for engineers." Like, Jabari, didn't you say you studied engineering? I'm like, "Yeah, actually I did." It was like, "Well, hey, go call this guy." So I go down, I apply, I do the interview, and now I got a job.
Yep.
I got a real job. And from there, you get a real work visa. You can be in the country. So now I'm actually allowed to be in Europe without football. So that only made the experience even better, because it's like, wow, I can be here legally. I can do something that I think the best thing for me was I had my exit plan at the beginning of my career. If I never got another import contract, I was going to be able to be here and work. So that made you enjoy football a bit more. Now, let's say you don't have an education, you don't have a degree, you don't know the language. It's still possible. What a lot of guys have started to do is they start to figure out what their strengths is. Some guys like personal training. Some guys like to do a lot of stuff. Ask the team, like, hey, as a part of my contract, as a part of my deal, can you not focus so much on paying me this? Can you help me get a job in this field? Can you get me a gig for the summer in this field and bet on yourself? And a lot of guys have done well with that. I see a lot of guys in Europe, all over, Americans or from wherever else, they're full-time living here. They got jobs, they got wives, they got kids. Now, like Emmanuel Lewis, for an example, he has his own program. Guys are doing it. And he built that reputation off of football. He built that clientele off of football. So networking is where I'm trying to get at. If you really want to be here, learn how to network with the locals, because the locals are going to give you the blueprint to success. And if they like you, they're going to do everything possible to see you succeed. I honestly think people in Europe and people on your football team probably want to see you be successful in their country and in their society more than some of the people you grew up with. And that is the realest thing that I can say, because what I learned is people love when you as an American or any immigrant can really come and integrate into their culture and appreciate their country for what it is. Exactly. So when people in Finland started to see me pay taxes like a local, it was all respect. It's like, hey, man, we can have different conversations because you're one of us.
Exactly.
You're going through the grind like us. So that's what I think guys can do. Like, if you're really serious about this thing and being here, even guys, one of my good buddies, Jadrian Clarks, he's probably one of the best quarterbacks that ever played in Europe. Jadrian lives here full time. He got a place to stay. He's running his football academies. He's playing in the ELF. And we both started as small school guys through a recruiting platform. And we just decided, hey, we want to do this. We want to be here. How can I stay here? You'll be surprised how many teams have set up even camps for you. Hey, I set up the Vinny camp. We'll have a Vinny football camp. The team can get this percentage and everything else can go to you. Use your resources, network, and don't be afraid to take any opportunity. My first job in Finland was at a vegetarian restaurant in Helsinki making salads, and I was happy. I was earning probably 600 euros a month, and I had football on the side. And then from there, people just saw, hey, this guy really wants to be here. He really wants an opportunity. Let me help him. You have to be a person that's approachable as an import, because some guys come over here, this is all you see. Yeah, man, nobody's trying to help the guy that thinks that he's too big for the program,
Nope. Very true.
Oh, absolutely, man. Now you talk about a program, you talk about a team. We ask every single guy that comes on here, what do teams have to do to become successful and maintain that success, Jabari? Because we see a lot of teams do the thing like you said. You get 15 imports, you bring them in, and you say, oh, yeah, we're going to be successful. They lose. Boom, those 15 imports are gone. And I'd be like, they're bottom of the barrel. You bring in a whole staff, you bring in everything for 1 year. Boom, they're gone. Success is out the door. So what do teams have to do to build those grassroots programs and be successful in Europe?
What I've always thought about throughout my 12 years here, if teams in Europe were able to keep the locals as accountable as the imports, I think that it would change a lot. Because one thing I noticed is everything is year by year. But let's say, what if teams and leagues start demanding that if you choose a team and sign, you have to be there for 2 to 3 years. You can't just up and leave. If you want to leave, you got to sit out a season or you can't coach for a season. So now guys have to be bought in for the right reasons. Guys have to be committed to actually what the game is. And football is a forever developing sport. There's no such thing as overnight success in football. Even in the NFL, you may trade a few guys and create some budget to get the guys you need, but it still takes a long time and strategizing to get there. What teams need to do is guys that take over clubs from the head, you have to go out and handpick people that you trust that actually care as much as you and say, hey, Will, Vinny, we're really going to do this. I'm committed to 2 to 5 years of hard work and grind because I care. Do you care as much as me? Do you care as much as me? And once you get the guys at the top that care, then you guys collectively say, let's go start building with people that care. Football in Europe does have a lot of people that are passionate, but you also have a lot of people that just want to be around the guys. You can't build around people that just want to hang out. And you still need them, but you can't build around them. And teams have to be honest. I think that the teams that implode in Europe, that completely fail, they're not honest with the players, they're not honest with the coaches, and they're not honest with themselves, because it's a character flaw to lie to everybody. And you have teams that lie about their financial situations. You have teams that lie about even the coaches that they're bringing in. And human beings aren't stupid. Once we see what's going on, people are going to step away. So I think if teams really want to be successful in the long term, get a good group of people that are really committed to grinding and make an actual plan and stick with it. I think federations in Europe can help teams do that by saying, hey, if you play in this league, if this is the Belgium league, if this is whatever league, and you sign with a team, you have to at least do 2 seasons and really give that team a fair chance. Because I think that that also gives players a real reality check of what they're signing up for. So if I'm a local player and I really want to just join a championship team because I want to ride the wave, that's exactly what I'm doing. I may not play. An import may replace me, but I know what I'm signing up for. If I'm a player like Vinny used to be, I want to get on the field. I want a ball. All right. Know that when you go to this team, you're going to be on the field. They may not be as good the first or the second year, but you get the real experience of football. Football for athletes and coaches is an up and down thing. And I honestly believe what makes it special to us is experiencing it all. My low seasons where it felt bad and my seasons where they felt good all equally balanced out, because that first year when it sucked in the beginning, it got good. Then there was a point in my career where I was an MVP. Then I tore my Achilles. But all of it comes together to make the experience. And I think that that's what will make football in Europe more realistic. We can't allow teams and clubs to keep having shortcuts. You can have money one season and try to buy a victory, but you have to commit to that plan for the next season too. So I think the accountability and leagues enforcing that accountability is on every level, even with the juniors. Hey, kids, if you come into play for the Broncos, you can't leave because you're mad at the coach. You can't leave because you're not starting. You can't leave because somebody said you're fat. Stick around, be disciplined, and put in the work. That's what teams got to have. That's exactly what they have to do. You have to have a long-term plan of people that care, and everybody wants to have to put in the work, because when the players see that the coaches and the management really care, it does something. It's contagious. That commitment is contagious. People think that players won't commit. They will. Players will commit because you set a standard. You create a culture. Europe needs more culture in American football. The
That's
best
true.
teams have culture, and you can see it. You can see it from the way that they dress, the way that they warm up, the way that they're in the locker room. I remember playing on teams where our coach would say, "We're not doing all that rah-rah. We don't need to. We're going to go out and execute because we're used to winning. We're used to being successful." I look at the imports and people on the other side of the sidelines, they throwing up gang signs, this and that. And in my head, I'm like, we finna put up 60 on y'all. And we did
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that was the standard. And the Roosters, I keep bringing that team up because they won 8 national championships in a row. That is dang near impossible to do without commitment and dedication. So
Yeah.
that's what I think teams can do.
Absolutely, man. And I mean, like, I think Jason Taylor played for
Yeah.
or for the Roosters, right?
Mhm.
And I'm
That
like,
was my teammate.
dude's a stud, absolute beast. We're gonna have to get him on, man. I'm like, if
I
he did the
haven't
same
planned.
thing as
I
you,
haven't
Bart,
planned. I haven't
you
Yeah.
planned.
know, he literally comes in, he has his family there, you know, and
Yep.
he grows. So let's bring that aspect in, man. Now you're a family man. You have your family, you have your kids, you have your girl there, you have an apartment there, or you know, you have your home there. How is it different, man, from like, you know, being back in the States? And I mean, like, just raising your family. And it's really cool because I mean, like, the things that you told me, like, your daughter rides the public train to school, which in the States, you're like, hell no. Like, you ain't riding
Right.
nowhere by yourself. Like,
Yeah.
we taking you to school and we bringing you back, all that stuff,
Right.
man. So tell me how it is raising a family, having your kids, having your son is playing soccer. I see you coaching out there now, some soccer. I'll be like, bro,
Yeah.
it's a big change.
Yeah, it's an amazing experience, man. Like I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I think that was the biggest factor of me trying to really push to move my family to the States versus staying in Europe. When I realized that regardless of where I go in the States, I can't guarantee that safety. I can't guarantee that freedom for them to just be kids. It was a no-brainer that I was staying here. And because I found my way to where I was able to have everything that made me happy. I had a job, I still had football, I got kids in the family, and I'm safe. I don't think that I could put a price tag on having all of that in one lifetime. When I go home and I visit, I see everybody's really working hard out there right now. Everybody's grinding just to have a little bit. What Europe teaches you, especially in cultures like Finland, where it's a big socialist economy, you can never have too much, but you can never have too little. And I realized it made a big difference in the society when people don't have to resort to crime to get by. There's a lot of support. And I realized even as a worker, I'm working a bit more, not just for myself and my family, but for the greater good of everybody. So it's actually pretty humbling because coming in with that American mindset, at first it's like, man, I work hard. I want to have it all. I got to have a big house, big truck. But then when I really needed the help, when I tore my Achilles, I left Belgium, and it's like, dang, I done got screwed over. And the system's like, oh, you good. Like, you don't have to worry about it. It's not like the
Yeah.
States where you finna get a $20,000 bill. You finna pay $60 and be all right. That's when I realized what I was actually investing into. And being a young dad, because I had my first kid at 23, and just seeing how much support that I had, where I couldn't stress as much because I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't stress as much because I wasn't mature and settled in my career. It was a lot of support that made the process a little bit more easier. So, you know, I'm not promoting everybody to try to come over to Europe and do this. It's not for everybody. But if you go down the road that I did, where you don't wrap it up and it kind of finds you, just know that you will be okay. I'm very happy with where I am in life, man. Like, I grew up a lot because when you're away from your family, and you know, those first few years are challenging. You can't just run from your problems. You have to be a grown man and you have to figure out this thing, and you're doing it across the pond. But when I realized how helpful a lot of people were to me, I think that was the biggest difference in having true help and true people that didn't let me fall by the wayside out here. I think that was the biggest difference between what I experienced here versus back home, because back home, people really hit rock bottom, dude. Like, people really hit rock bottom, and it seems and feels like nobody cares. So I think that I'm very happy that I'm in a society where even now my son's outside playing, dude. It's 10:50 on a Friday. Him and the guys are outside scooting. Friends in the other room probably on Roblox, and it's just that peace. I come from a place where mom was saying, "Be in the house when the street lights came on, because it's not safe. Don't go to this side of town because the cops might bother you." Dude, I be riding around here with my music on blast, and I drive past the cops and they smile and head nod and keep going. It's just the difference of the culture, the safety net, the clean water. Just watch this. See how quiet that is? It's just peaceful. So I think that that's what the experience is like for me. It's peaceful. I feel like it's a reward for everything that I may have experienced earlier in life. Some of the hardships, some of the disappointments, some of the things that were very tough growing up in Jackson. I feel like this is the reward of patience. This is the reward of doing the right things to people. Just simply being a middle-aged 30-year-old guy and being at peace.
I just want to go into it a little more if we still have time for that, but I think so. It's because it's linked to this part of it. Me having a son, as you know, you having 3 kids. We're both pretty open about the situation that we're not together with the mom of our kids. How did that affect your experience as an import, going to other countries and not seeing your kid for some time? Because I know for me personally, it does kind of change my mindset, and you think about a lot more stuff on the side than you would if you wouldn't have that, and you miss your kids while you're abroad. And how did that affect your career? Because I know for me, it did affect me.
Absolutely. I think it was a bit different in my earlier career, because when I was leaving at that point, it was my job. And it was an understanding that I'm going to Poland or I'm going to these places because I'm simply trying to provide. But it was definitely hard. And I think that the support that I had, even from the mom, was, I understand that you've already sacrificed to even be here. You've already given up living in the States. You didn't run away because of this. So I have to meet you in the middle. But once I found the stability, once I had everything that I needed to be concrete and be supportive, that's what made me stop, because I realized that at some point as a father, my responsibility and duty, regardless of what my relationship with the mom is, that's still what I chose to do. And that's something that gives me the peace of mind and the freedom to sleep at night, is that when other people will run from that calling, we're standing 10 toes down and doing it. And I kind of saw it as, and like, I understand, like, in the beginning, it's challenging, bro, because you have your hopes and dreams. You're still an athlete. You're still that little boy inside that has dreams of being this and that. But when my son got old enough and he started having his own career, I started to realize that it's not about me anymore. Everything that I wanted to do, I had a chance to do it. Now that I have an opportunity to be something to him that even I didn't have, my father wasn't that involved in my sports career. So when I became a father of a little boy, and even having a little girl who's active and, wanting to do things, I realized I now have an opportunity to break a chain of generation of men that didn't know how to interact and be heavily involved with the kids. And I think that having that mindset and just simply showing up, I earned the respect of the mother because of that. Because when they see you as a man in a society where they say we don't do anything right, we don't do this, we don't do that, when they see you showing up consistently, regardless of how many times they told you you're a piece of crap, regardless of how many times the money has been low, you show up for those kids. It's a different level of respect, because what you're going to realize, Vinny, and what my ex realized was, you could have a piece of crap of a guy to be fathering your kids that's not there at all. And the
True.
only thing you're asking to do is what you both agreed to do, which is be parents. So I had to realize that when I became a father and my kids started to grow, it wasn't about me. And I think that what you're going through right now is what it truly really is to be a man. Sometimes
Yeah, true.
you have to put yourself to the side to realize that even doing for your son, you're doing for yourself. You're doing
True.
for your legacy. He's going to grow up and probably have opportunities and possibilities that you never would have seen. And you can really teach and prepare him for
Yep.
all of those things. And coach was saying, my son's playing soccer. The greatest feeling is going to my son's soccer game and seeing he's the stud. It's just like I'm standing there. He done scored 4 goals. And I'm not the dad that's like yelling, jumping up and down. I'm the dad that's like, this is what I expected because I've been
Yep.
present. I've put in the
Yep.
work. And it's funny because a lot of people will come and talk to me like, man, where you from? Did you play sports? I'm like, what makes you think that? Oh, you looking at my boy? Yeah, well, you know, I used to razzle dazzle back in the day. And my son, honestly, Vinny, my kids still wanted me to play. Like even this year, my son was saying, Dad, we'll do this together. I'll push you, you'll push me. It was me that said, you know what, son? I don't want to push anymore. I
Yeah.
don't want to grind like that anymore because I've become so happy watching you live out your hopes and dreams. So it was a natural thing. It wasn't like it was a hard decision. After last year, and I actually played and finished the season, I felt like there was nothing more to prove. My ego wasn't involved in my decision. Once your ego leaves the room,
True.
you
Yeah.
start to see it from a different perspective. And so it was me that went to my ex and said, hey, you know what? I'm retiring from ball because I want to be fully hands-on available for the kids and I don't want to miss anything on their journey. And so now people still see me work out and all the time people think I'm training because I'm trying to get back in the game. No, I still want to be able to put my son in the headlock until I'm 60. So the the motivation behind why I do things changed.
Yeah.
But that's really what it's like, man. It's very hard in the beginning. You're gonna have some nights where you sit up and you miss it. But if you know that you truly gave it all in the time that you had the opportunity, and if you start to really put that time into your responsibility as a dad, you slowly start to realize that it all makes sense. It all finds itself. It may not even be within the first year or two. It may take a little bit of time. But I promise you, everything that you've invested into your kids, they're gonna show it at some point. And I'm experiencing it now. Like, you know, regardless of what my relationship is with the mom, they love me. They love being around me. I'm at every game. I'm at every graduation. They come over every day. So, you know, that's gonna be what makes you sit up at night and say, I did what I was supposed to do.
I like that. I like that.
You know what, guys? I love it because you guys are talking. I mean, like, I'm on the different end, right? My son's 23. My son is now 23. He's graduating college. He's started coaching. You know, I'm like, you know, and when you talk about legacy, right? I think that's what a lot of us look at when you're a dad. What legacy am I leaving? Like, my son told me this, and it was the proudest moment. He was like, Dad, my job is to put my family in a better position than you had. And you pushed this far, so my job is to push further.
Yep.
And when you talk to a young man, right? Because I mean, like I said, my son's 23. And I'm like, man, I'm like, feel old as fuck now. But I had him young. I
I
had him at
remember
20.
I remember we was in Belgium. He was just starting college.
Yep.
Yeah. He was just
Yeah.
starting out. He's finishing and he's doing
It's
his
crazy.
thing. So guys, just know that you guys being there, putting in all those hard nights, man, when things don't look so bright for you, man, they all pay off. Because when you see that grown man or that grown woman being successful, taking on the world, doing things that you're like, hey, man, go on about yourself. My son, the proudest moment I've had is that my son never asked me for shit. Like, I'll tell you guys like this. My son goes like, Dad, I'm a grown man. I'm going to try to figure this thing out. If I call you, it's like, it's the last thing that, you know, that's my last straw. So of course I'm like, yo, I got you, right? But
Mm-hmm.
those are the proud moments that you guys are gonna have and you guys are gonna experience. And I mean, like
Hmm.
sports will come up and down, everything will go around, but the hard work, the legacy you guys leave behind, and the things that they may see in you guys, they instill in their lives.
Yep.
That's the biggest impact y'all can have, man. And that's an amazing thing to see. I hope you guys get to experience and live that long to see your kids grow up and see all those things. But one last question for you, Bari, before we let you go. And hopefully we can get you on a Bari 2.0
We'll
because
definitely have a second
a
part.
lot of
There's
great
so much
information.
other stuff we can talk about.
Oh yeah.
But if you're to build, if you're the GM of a team right now and you're in Europe, how do you start it? How do you build it? How do you make it successful?
First things first, I got to put in the groundwork and get money. I got to get sponsorship. Um, we all know that with equity, you can do a lot of things. So it's the part that nobody really wants to do. It's tiring, it's demanding, it's frustrating. But if I decide that I want to start a team, let's say even with that, I want to say, okay, I want a team, but I want it maybe in a year or two. I'm gonna spend this whole first year or two going out and finding business partners to go in with me on this.
Yeah.
And then build a board with the sponsors and with the people that are involved and say, okay, we are building a team. This team is going to be
You mean it
based
shouldn't be the
here.
GM and his wife?
Yeah. you got to really build a team. And so now when you have an idea at least of what you can afford to do, where the money is coming from, now you start building the things that you know that matter. What a lot of teams don't focus on in Europe that really brings in people and money, marketing. I would invest in to have a real marketing team off the rip. Start selling this idea and this pitch that there's going to be a new team, this city, and it's coming 2000 and whatever. And now I've already got a blueprint to make it attractive. I got money. I have a marketing team. Now I can start promoting to get players and people to come join, come try out. I want people from the rip, I want people to feel like this is going to be something special. This is the real deal. Mind you, I don't have a coach, I don't have a player, but I'm building the brand. Football in Europe has to be a brand, and it has
Yep.
to be something that you can sell. If I'm able to bring in the money, now my possibilities are limitless because I know that you're talking about competing, you need imports. We handled that from the beginning. We got that. And also have a plan to where the people that are investing get something. All right, so if you invest into my team, what do you need me to do? I need to understand what I'm taking in this deal. You're giving me money. What do you want? We don't need to have any confusion. So now that I got my finances settled, I got my marketing team and crew locked in. Now I'm ready to go out there and try to build a team. And once I'm building this team, the main thing that I have to go out and do is find me a good coach. With that money that I just got, whatever sponsorship, I'm letting them know, hey, I'm building a team from head to toe. I want to make sure that we have a coach that people know, love, and respect. Let's do everything to get him here because I've learned good coaches will bring players. They will
Yep.
bring guys. If you go out and secure you a legendary coach, you're already halfway there. He's bringing guys and a mentality, and you already got the money to make sure you can take care of him. And then you speak with this coach and say, hey, coach, we're building from scratch, but we got money. We got a marketing crew. We're going to make this about us. We're going to follow the journey. We're going to give you the spotlight to be able to shine as a coach because we know people seeing those clips online, people seeing that social media. That's what gets the guys like, hey, I don't know what they doing over in Vinnyville, but I'm going. I want to see what's going on. So now I got a coach. I give him the freedom to actually coach. I think that some teams and managers micromanages the coaches too much. If I bring in the guy to be the guy, let him be the guy. Trust him. Don't micromanage him. Say, hey, coach, this is your team. This is the budget we have. Let us know what we need to do to support you. Have at it. If we're honest with each other and we're transparent, we can get along. And from there, I think you got a great start to starting the team. You got to start with having some capital, because I don't know any team without capital that's able to really be successful progressing to the highest level. Some teams, you'll notice, they'll be good in the lower divisions, but once they jump up there, it's a big difference. And the difference is those teams on the upper level, for one, they know how to play at their speed. But even if they on the same talent as you, they have a little bit of something where they can go out and get a few guys that put them over the edge. I want to focus on having that in the beginning. So when we get to the point where we say, hey, coach, we've developed the last 3 years. Our local talent is good. Our crew, our coaching staff, our media is phenomenal. Now let's go for a championship. Now let's go and start getting imports and more players, because I want those imports to come to my program and it's already built. I don't want to build my program off the back of the imports. I don't even want to put that pressure on those guys. I want to be able to offer a good experience to those guys. Like, hey, you're going to be accommodated. We got a good system here. We got good coaches. We just need you to be a player like you was in college. I don't need you to come over here and reinvent the wheel. We've done the groundwork. From there, this is how dynasties are built, because if my quarterback doesn't want to come the next summer, my core is still there. If I get a running back hurt, my core is still there. So if teams in Europe stop doing it the other way around, where they try to convince everybody that they know what's going on, they put the money right in front of everybody's face as the recruiting tip. Even local players like Vinny, let's be real. As a local, I would take that money for that season and I would be out of there, because that's what you got me in with. If you start trying to recruit everybody because your money is good and you can pay them to be there, there's no loyalty in that. The loyalty is in the money. I want to build the loyalty that my players say, I love being here because this is a solid program. They do things right. And on top of that, the reputation of our team is solid. So spending the time to build the sponsorship and the actual infrastructure, getting a great coach that I believe in and taking care of him first, letting him be involved in all of the things that matter, the recruiting, the management, because if your coach isn't comfortable, even he as a coach can't perform well. And then after that, all coming together and saying, hey, let's be real. The first 2 years, a championship is not on our mind. Developing the program and bringing in guys that want to be a part of this, that's the most important thing, getting commitment. And if we set out a plan and we see we're progressing, we're competing, we have a roster, people are happy. Now, think about this, Vinny. I hadn't had imports for 3 years. I still got money saved up. True. I can really go all in. I've seen teams that they get a sponsor for one season. They get that big sponsor. I don't know who it is. They put it all in. Like, people think that having money automatically means go for a championship. No. Scared money don't make no money. No, multiply the money.
Exactly. Yep. Invest.
And that's a key part, man. I love the fact that you're saying that you have to build the infrastructure. You have to give people time. And then you're not looking at a 1-year term. You're looking at 2 to 3 years down the road to build the program, to build the team. And then you said, hey, man, honestly, you have to get the base of the cake and then put the frosting on, right? Imports are the frosting on the cake. What we see a lot in Europe is people just give you the plate and throw all the frosting on top and expect it to become a cake.
Yep.
And that's unrealistic. But
people have to treat building teams as a marriage. I say this and I'll let you go. When you get on your knee and you propose to a lady and get married, you don't think that you want to get divorced the next year. You plan to be in it forever. So if I'm going to be married to the game, once I propose to doing this, the idea is that we're going the distance. So if you're getting into this thing for a short-term goal, you might as well not do it at all.
Mm-hmm. True.
Oh, man. I love it. That's straight facts, baby. Straight facts. Yo, episode 9. The Vinny and Will Show. Jabari motherfucking Harris in the
Yeah,
building, baby. You already
yeah.
know. Hey, where can they follow you, Jabari? I mean, like, you got some funny stuff on Instagram, guys. If you guys see him, I'm like, he's always, making his videos with the import life and everything like that.
True.
They're absolutely hilarious. Yo, where can they follow you, Bari? And I know that you got a music career. We haven't even hit on that yet. My
We'll
band is
definitely talk
busting out
about that in
music.
the next
Where can
one.
they follow you? Where can they listen to you at, bro?
You can find me all socials, Spotify, Facebook, anywhere at Safari Bari 1. It's the same on every social media handle. I'll be there.
All right.
Yo, we appreciate you, man. And hey, guys, stay tuned because we're going to bring an episode 2.0 with our boy Bari, where he drops more knowledge bombs on you. Hey, we appreciate you guys listening. Stay tuned, baby.